Hi, Paul Bevan here from Retention Guru, and in this short clip, I am talking about solving your staff retention problem before trying to solve your member retention problem. It was part of an interview I did with Eric Malzone at the Future of Fitness podcast, probably one of the best produced podcasts you'll ever find in the fitness industry. If you've got any questions for me about this content, please drop them in the box down below. Alternatively, you can email me at paul@retentionguru.co.uk and I will get back to you just as soon as I can. For now, just enjoy the clip and I'll speak to you again soon. Take care. Bye.
And then one of my clients that I was working with said, oh, yeah, we've got a problem with member retention, but actually, if you could solve our staff retention problem first, we think that would solve our member retention problem. And so I started looking at expanding into the different motivators and drivers of employment as opposed to motivators and drivers of exercise.
Yeah, interesting. Well, yeah, let's start with that then. Staff retention. What are some of the considerations? If you're a Jimmy club owner, right? GM, like what do you need to start recognizing and looking at and able to, because I think that's at least here in the United States, that's a big problem across all industries, right? Is getting staff retention. And I have my theories on why that may be, but let's hear your take.
So I think the thing we have to think about, again, if we start thinking how we think generationally, my parents, or my father had his own business, but he did the same business for his entire life, his entire working life. And, he's now in his late 80s, but he would have left school. And if he could have got a job in a bank, he would have been like, he'd have won the lottery, because people would go, oh, you got a job in a bank, job for life, job security. That's what you want. If you're there 10 years, you might get up to like an assistant manager. If you're there 20 years, but if you're there 30 years, you might get branch manager or even higher. And those were would have been sort of the aspirations. Whereas when I came out of school, it was actually, I'm going to do this for a while, and then maybe I'll do something else. And then it was already, they were talking about, instead of a job for life, you might have 3 different careers. My son doesn't even think in terms of jobs. He thinks in terms of months. What am I going to do between now and Christmas? What am I going to do after Christmas for the new year? So he's happy to jump around, not just from one being employed and unemployed because I support him, but I'm going to work, by trade, he's a qualified bricklayer. He's currently working as a carpenter. And more recently, he worked for a huge grocery store in terms of stock control and management. And he was like, he doesn't think about being employed forever. And I think when I started working with my client, they said most of their staff were students and they would stay employed for about 6 months and then move on. And they were saying, how do we get them to stay for longer? And I said, no, let's flip the problem. Let's flip it. And let's look at it as, what can we do with them for 6 months, expecting them to go after that? So, because if most of them were students and they were undergraduates and they were looking to get their degrees, they were looking to go off and do a career in something else completely. And so it's like, let's flip this, because I don't think now, even in older generations, people are looking for jobs for life. They're not looking for 9 to 5. They're looking for a lot more flexibility. Yet a lot of owners, because we have often a service that needs staff to deliver it on a face-to-face basis, there's no remote working. People are like, I'm not sure I want to do that.
Yeah.